Now in this area, it's a sad part of the old church, and you can see lots of stone markers, no inscriptions, but under each of those stones lies a story. The story, this section, you have people buried here during the famine and during the cholera epidemic, and then you have people buried around here, and the stone markers are scattered very much around the whole cemetery or the whole graveyard, and from people who couldn't afford a headstone. But this story here of the famine, during the famine, Passage West itself didn't lose too many people because it was a very prosperous shipbuilding, ship repair town. But you had many people coming from West Cork, Kerry, coming into Passage in the hope of getting a job, hope of getting something to eat, or hope of getting transport to America or some other country like that. And then you have victims of the cholera, which struck Passage people. Now, when I said about Passage itself, there was a visitor to Passage one time during 47 and came across a child, was begging on the streets and obviously hungry, and he brought them to where they were staying, and within the region around there was over 1,000 people like that suffering from the famine, hungry and begging for their life, but they were all people coming in from outside the town. There is one story that has both fact and a bit of folklore, that in one of these graves here, that in 1690, when the Duke of Marlborough landed in Passage on his way to attack Cork in 1690, and he stations his troops overnight in what is now Pembroke Wood, and one of the ships on that landed troops there went up river and shelled Cork City as well, around Grand Parade, the library area, and that ship's name was Breda, and she later collected prisoners, Jacobite prisoners, and had them in chains, moved down river and was anchored between, some say at Monkstown, or certainly between Spike and Hallbolan. And there was an explosion on the ship. All the convicts were down below on the deck in chains, and there was out of over 240 people, only 9 survived. And the stories told, and that was a fact, bodies were being washed up around the harbour area. One body was washed up at Passage and buried somewhere here. And a few weeks later, an elderly lady arrived in Passage and wanted to meet the men who buried her son. And they came forward.